Okay, we'll start again. Joe Mac here with Jim Feist. We're going to do a podcast. There's a lot going on in baseball, in football. We've got the Antonio Brown saga, of course, Feetgate and Helmetgate and all that stuff. And it looks to me, Joe, by the way, I'm here with Joe Mac today. Joe's in New York, hot and humid there. I feel bad for you, Joe, but you know, that's what it's like being in the Big Apple in the summer. Oh, my God. I know how hot and humid it gets there. I used to live there. We've got a lot going on, Joe. I don't know where you want to start, but I'll let you just run with it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, you touched on Antonio Brown, and we were talking before we started our podcast, and I think everyone kind of in and around the NFL is a little worn out with Antonio Brown and all his antics. I mean, he is a great receiver. He's been a stat sheet guy for years and years. I mean, fantasy league people, I'm not one of them, but I mean, you know, he's always in the top 3 of the fantasy leagues, all that. I mean, he's had great moments in his career. And he's had a good long career. I mean, he's been around 9-10 years now. So he's punched his ticket. He's a Hall of Famer. But he is a royal pain in the backside for everybody. And I'll tell you what, Jim, I usually religiously watch the Hard Knocks episodes every summer on HBO, and I know they've had 2 of them, and I know I can catch up on demand and whatever, but I've had no real interest in watching it because I know that probably a segment of it is Antonio Brown related. I really can't think much more of it. So he's got to be a royal pain in the neck, and you know, we know this is a league that has a lot of real prima donnas at wide receiver, and to me, a lot of these guys are not worth the trouble, but you know, they get the big money, they get all the headlines, and yeah, when you start stacking it up, I mean, even though I just praised Antonio Brown for his play on the field over the years, I mean, never won a Super Bowl, not a whole lot of playoff success. You look at a guy like Odell Beckham, 4 or 5 years in the league, not a single playoff win. He's missed half the games. He missed like 8 games for the Giants over the last 2 years. Some of these guys are just not worth the trouble, and what are you going to say? But they pile up the stats, and they get people excited, and they get everybody's fantasy league teams excited. But you know what? If I was a general manager out there, I wouldn't be bothered with guys that are just, you know, headaches. That's all they really become.
I don't understand what Mayock and Gruden are doing out there. I mean, they've signed some guys that are really pain in the butts. I mean, Burfict has been bad. The guy that came out of Buffalo and Miami before that, I can't remember his name right now. And now Brown.
Right. Richie Incognito. He's nothing but a headache. Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they're doing out there. I mean, I know they're going to be here in Vegas, but I mean, they're going to bring a bunch of a big bunch of pain in the butts out here to Vegas, and because they're not building a winning franchise right now. I know they got a lot of draft choices, and anything can happen with draft choices. Some of them turn out great, some of them turn out busts. But I'm not impressed. I know he's got a big contract. He's got 10 years there, $10 million a year, but I'm not impressed. And they got to show me something.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you know, let's face it. One of the first things Gruden did when he came aboard for his second stint with the Raiders was to get rid of Khalil Mack and, let him, trade him off to the Bears and try to retool things through the draft. But, I mean, I'm not going to criticize him over one draft and then this past year with Mayock. But you start to wonder, like you say, what is their plan? I mean, you would think that if he wants to go young and he wants to shape guys into his image or whatever, he wouldn't be bringing all this extra baggage guys on board. I mean, why would anyone in the NFL want Richie Incognito on their team after all the trouble he causes? Like you said, why would you really want Antonio Brown? Why not develop a younger receiver and maybe spread the wealth on offense? I don't know. I mean, but, Gruden, I guess, feels some kind of empowerment. He knows he's got a 10-year deal, and the whole thing with Mike Mayock coming aboard as general manager, I mean, I got to say, I was always turned off by him when you flip on and watch the NFL draft or leading up to the draft, I mean, he hit so many guys wrong over the years, and I'm surprised he kept his job over the years at NFL Network. He hit guys who he said, oh, no, this guy's at best a second rounder, and the guy became a first-round star and whatnot. So I question his acumen as a general manager, and I certainly agree with you, Jim. I really don't know what Gruden right now is doing with this team, and I looked it over and I looked every which way, and I said, to me, this team is 6-10 at best this year, and probably looking at a 500 type team over the next couple of years, unless Derek Carr has some magic wand that he can put over his helmet. Because he had one good year in his career, and outside that, he's been an average to below average quarterback. So I don't see things working there. They can move the whole show to Las Vegas, and you know what? It's going to be the same old show. There'll be a 5-11, 6-10 team until they can kind of work their way out of this muddled mess that they're in.
Yeah, no matter where you go, there you are. He goes in there with a plan. I'm going to get rid of some of these veterans and bring in draft choices, and that's where he gets rid of Mac, he gets rid of Amari Cooper, and then he brings in Burfict, Incognito, and Brown. These aren't draft choices. These are high-priced people that, why did he get rid of Mac? Mac was the best pass rusher in the business, and obviously Brown has really changed the game down in Dallas. Speaking of Dallas, they've got the Zeke and Dak show down there. Dak's turned it down. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Sorry for the interference. We got Zeke and Dak down in Dallas, and that's an absolute mess. I don't know. Dak turns, if the reports are true, he turns down 30, asking for 40. Okay, that's a negotiation. Maybe he'll end up with 33 or 35 or something like that. That's a lot of money. I don't know if he's worth it. And of course, Zeke is running on the beach somewhere, training himself. So that's another issue. Jerry Jones is, he doesn't need my advice or yours or anybody else's. He's done whatever he's done in his life. It's worked out for him. And I don't think he needs our advice. He'll figure it out. But it seems to be a little bit of a mess down in Dallas, too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Ezekiel Elliott is another guy. He's great talent. He's put up big numbers. He's definitely been one of the top 2 or 3 running backs since he's come into the league 3 years ago. But every time you turn around, there's something going on with him. He wants more money, or he's getting involved in some off-the-field shenanigans. You just, you get tired of the whole thing. You just get, we're not even into the start of the season yet, and I'm kind of tired of some of these old storylines. And as far as Prescott goes, he fell into a spot where, let's face it, he won the job that year a few years back in preseason. He had that wonderful stretch of games in the preseason 3 years ago where he out won the job. But if you really look at things, however you want to measure it, you look at the quarterbacks in the NFL, the starting quarterbacks, you got 32 of them. If Dak Prescott is, for me, he's low to mid 20s. In other words, there's 20 guys in this league that I would take at quarterback before I took Prescott. And I know he can improvise sometimes, and he makes some plays with his legs, and he can scramble and throw it on the run. But he's such an inaccurate passer. He's not a great deep ball guy. And, I really wonder if, he can ask for all the money in the world that he wants. He's definitely not worth 30 or any of that kind of change that he's talking about. But I just think he's become really he's gone from being kind of an unknown guy who made it in this league and was like a great story to now he's kind of an overrated very good defense. They've got some of the best linebackers in the league. To me, this team should be on the verge of a 12-4 season and probably a deep run in the playoffs. But do I trust Dak Prescott when the money is on the line? Not really. So I mean, in other words, the Cowboys have a lot of talent, and I wouldn't be surprised with all the distractions, and if Elliott misses a couple of games, holding out, whatever. I mean, this team could falter into an 8-8 season, and you're sitting there saying, with that offensive line, with that linebacking core, with a stepped-up defensive line, this team should be winning. This team should win this division, really. They have enough talent to win this division. I don't trust Prescott, and Lord knows how Jerry Jones and company are going to handle the Zeke stuff. I mean, one quote I saw from Jerry Jones the other day, I know he was probably kidding himself, but he was saying how the guys who played in the other night's game held their own and looked fine, and he could see them going forward being the Cowboys' backfield. I watched part of that game. Those guys, there's no hope for any of them. So, in other words, he better sign Elliott as fast as he can and get at least that problem solved, or it's going to be a kind of a dour year for the Cowboys.
You know, it's funny when you look at that division, not funny, but kind of sad. The Giants are a mess. Washington seems to be a mess. I mean, maybe they can do some damage if they shore up that defense and get a little bit of help on the quarterback side, but I don't see that happening. And if Dallas can't put it together, Philadelphia's got a cakewalk. And the only thing that would stop Philadelphia perhaps would be an injury to Wentz, who can be very, 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 very good if he's healthy. So, I mean, this is really a Dallas-Philadelphia division unless Dallas just shoots themselves in the foot before the season even starts.
I'm with you. I mean, I could see the Eagles, who, if Wentz stays healthy, which, let's face it, in the last 2 years, he has not shown that ability to stay healthy. If you tell me right now that Carson Wentz is going to maybe miss one game or no games this year, and you have this continued distraction and nonsense in Dallas, I'm going to tell you right now, the Eagles are going to win that division and maybe even get as high as like a 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. But the Eagles are sitting there. I see that there's some people. I read some article yesterday that said the Eagles are starting to get some money as a Super Bowl team, and people are starting to believe in them. Hey, they're a solid team. They're not that far removed from that team of 2 years ago that put on that great postseason run and won their first ever Super Bowl. They're a good, solid team. If the Cowboys slip up and kind of hand over a couple of games, the Eagles are going to swoop in and win that division. And then who knows, if Wentz is healthy, maybe in the playoffs, we'll be looking at kind of a round-robin type thing between Eagles, Saints, and Rams, let's say, and may the best team win out of that. But the Cowboys have the best talent. I agree with you, Jim. But you know what? Right now, they're in a bit of a sloppy situation with holdouts and whatever, and they've got to get their house in order. Otherwise, they're not going to win this division.
Actually, I'd see the talent between Dallas and Philadelphia about even if everybody's on the field. But right now, I think the Philadelphia management, their structure, everything seems to be together there right now. And the only question mark really is Wentz and whether he's healthy or not. But in Philadelphia, seem to have a lot of drama. You got Amari Cooper as a contract negotiation. You got Dak with a contract negotiation. And you got Zeke jumping into the mix, even though he has a 2-year contract. So I see that being a total mismanaged situation. And also you have the clapper on the sideline in Garrett that doesn't, he doesn't get a lot of respect as a great coach, and I can understand why. So there's a lot of things going on. It's a real mess. But you got a couple of weeks before the regular season starts, and it'll probably shape up. You got the Rams, who made it to the Super Bowl last year, that a lot of people expect to have some regression this year. But that division out there has a young Niner team. You got the Seahawks with the Wilson, the big money up there, but he's a great quarterback, and Pete Carroll, great coach. But they have a lot of defensive holes. They don't have that defense they had a couple years ago. And of course, you got Arizona with Murray and the new rookie quarterback down there. So, even if the Rams regress, and a lot of people think that's going to happen, those other teams have to step up, and right now I'm not sure they're ready to.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I was talking to a friend who thinks the Rams are going back to the Super Bowl. I personally don't think they probably will. I mean, I'm basing a lot of it just on history. I think we touched on this on our last podcast or a couple of podcasts ago. It's amazing when you look at sometimes you really got to dig out some facts or whatever, and you look back, and in the last 11 years, the last 11 Super Bowls, Jim, we've had 10 different NFC representatives. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I know the league wants parity and everything, but except for the Seahawks, who went back-to-back, won the one Super Bowl, blew the other one, you have had a different representative from the NFC every year, and I think it's natural. The word you use is regression. I believe in that. I mean, until you go to the Super Bowl, it's such a grind. Your season is longer. You're not used to playing that many games. You're not used to playing into February, and then you turn around, and let's face it, a lot of guys get a little bit like fat cats, and some guys are, some of the chemistry issues are a little different from the Super Bowl year. So I think the Rams, are going to be still solid, and you pointed to a good reason why. I mean, they're in a division where, should we be surprised if they go 5-1 or 6-0 in that division? It could happen. I mean, like you said, the Seahawks defense is not great. The Legion of Boom is long gone. And, if Jared Goff goes into Seattle and just starts picking away at stuff, he could throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns on that Seahawks secondary. So the Rams could be back there. To me, they're at 11-5, 12-14. They're probably a number 2 or number 3 seed in the NFC this year. The rest of the division, it's not all terrible. I mean, San Francisco may have to prove something. Obviously, Garoppolo has to stay healthy for a full year. I don't know if he's capable of that. And I do think Seattle has gotten better. I do think Arizona will be a little better, but I mean, Arizona was so dreadful last year, couldn't score to save their lives, and I think they're paying way too much on Murray now. I mean, I think they think they're going to, be a team that averages 25 points a game. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I think the rest of the division got a little better, and the Rams may have dropped a tick, but still, the Rams are the class of that division. And to be honest, if I had to pick right now, like I said, I could see if the Eagles wind up winning the East, if the Cowboys drop back a bit, those 3 teams I could see being in a bit of a round robin there in the Rams, Eagles, and Saints. And it depends on if you have to beat 2 of them to get to the Super Bowl. Might be tough, but right now I could see the Rams getting back to the NFC Championship game. But I just think for so many reasons, it's just hard to get back over the hump and get back into a Super Bowl back-to-back years. It's recent history has shown that.
Except for New England, of course.
Right. New England is the exception to everybody. I would say the NFC. You look at the AFC. I mean, it's hard to believe this team, could be 5. If they go this year, and let's face it, I think they're heavy favorites in the AFC. I mean, would be 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years. I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely nutty, but that's the Patriot way, as they say.
You're right. Anything you want to cover in baseball, Joe?
Well, you were touching on it a little bit before. It's funny. You got so many of these matchups where, elite teams are playing, tanking or garbage teams. I mean, and it was incredible to me. I had to look twice last Sunday when Verlander and the Astros were at Baltimore, and the line that I saw was 500. It was wacky. And then the Orioles win the game in the 9th inning. They give up, 3 runs, I think it was in the top of the 9th, and then they hit a 2-run home in the bottom of the 9th. I said, boy, you could have had the Orioles plus whatever that price is, 350 or 400. But some of these price tags have really gotten obscene. I mean, we have a lot of road favorites who are laying 320 and 360. It's non-competitive baseball, and as you said, I'm here in New York, and we get a steady dose of Yankee Orioles. I mean, it's amazing. The Orioles won the first 2 games this season head-to-head, and since then the Yankees have won 16 in a row, and most of them have been total bludgeon. The Yankees have hit almost 60 home runs against one team this year. I mean, it's really crazy how it goes. But to me, a bunch of those games are just unbettable, and many of them are unwatchable,
That is unbelievable. Joe, you got some stuff going on. I mean, what you have? How do we get a hold of you to get your picks with Jim Hurley Sports?
I'm glad you asked. We got going on with Jim Hurley's network. We had a really good week, first week of preseason. We always advise our clients Don't go wild. It's the preseason. Limit your plays. Obviously, that starters are not playing most of the game. But it's funny. Last week we had a really good week with totals plays, and average week with sides. But we did cash with the Tampa Bay Pittsburgh over easily. We had the Ravens. Game. We went under in that, and we cashed. So we're doing good with totals. We're hopefully going to do even better with sides. We've got a lot going on, as folks can see. The NFL preseason Week 2 schedule is kind of spread out. You got 5 games Thursday, 3 Friday, a handful Saturday, and then you got a couple Sunday, and you actually have Monday night. So there's action every day, every night. We're going to have plays all the time. Like we say, telling people not to go wild. It's the preseason, but we've done well. We've really hit about 65% in preseason going back the last 5-6 years. And I can't remember us having a bad preseason. Maybe we hit 500 a couple of years ago, but outside of that, we pretty much strike out some good winners. So we're going to have it. The folks can call the toll-free number, Jim Hurley's Network, 1-800-323-4453. That's 1-800-323-4453. Or you can check us out on the website. Get the plays there at jimhurley.com. And like you said, we got preseason here for the next couple of weeks. We usually don't do much the last week of the preseason because it's almost all backups, but we're going to get more starters. And if folks have noticed, you got a lot of totals prices have gone up. We talked about it last week. More scoring, more passing early in these preseason games. And Las Vegas has noticed they've kicked a few lines up pretty high. I even saw a 46.5 out there, which is kind of high for preseason. But we plan on banging out some more winners. Again, 1-800-323-4453.
That's awesome, Joe, and we look forward to another winning weekend. I did very well myself. And make sure you get a hold of Joe this week. I'm sure he has a lot of winners. I know he does. And Joe, you and I can talk. We'll do another podcast maybe on Friday after we see those Thursday games over.
Jim, it sounds good to me. I always look forward to it.
All right, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.